where I'm at now. So that's basically some of my story. There's a lot more, but yeah.
It's an unbelievable story. It feels like it should be in a book or a movie or something classic. Um, I'd just like to ask you, coming from the background you've come from, what was your perception of the law before this happened to you? And how did your perception change to the point that you committed to becoming a lawyer?
Um, all right. So my perception of the law was that it was probably against someone like me. I was used to being on, because I've been in trouble in the past, on the wrong side of the dock, or being the client rather than having clients. And I was kind of oblivious to it. I just, the same urban London experience. I think for me, yeah, I just stumbled into this. I had no intention of being a lawyer. I didn't watch Suits. I didn't watch Kavanagh QC or Crown Court or whatever the dramas were, or Silk. I had no interest in even doing a degree, let alone becoming a lawyer. I just ended up doing this. God gave me this career to do. Honestly, to this day, it's just so random. Um, it, it's just hard to explain. And I just felt I was just inspired and encouraged. I think someone like Anthony Graham, people at Spark to Life, like Reverend Des Brown, really encouraged me to pursue my academic studies, and people were supportive. My wife said you should go to university, and so I just, I thought I was going to fail my first year, and I got really good grades, and I just kept with it, and here I am. You know,
Yeah, I'd just like to thank you so much for sharing your story as well with us. It's a really incredible journey, and you've clearly faced a lot of challenges in your life. So I'd just like to ask for perhaps other people in a similar position as you, what advice would you give to them?
all right. So in a similar position with me, in terms of qualifications, I would say as an adult learner, you don't really need to rely on A levels or GCSEs at all if you're coming into the legal profession in later life. You can, and to be fair, if you went Birkbeck, you wouldn't even have to do an access course. It'll be down to your experience. If you've had a solid career and in some profession or another, that might just be enough. If you've got, you can master the basics of a test that they might give you to do. So don't let that deter you. It might prevent you from going into certain red brick institutions, but other universities like University of Westminster, Birkbeck, you should be fine. In terms of, and it's a question I do get asked as well, people that have been in unfortunate trouble with the police. Again, the SRA and the bar standards will deal with you on a case by case basis. So it's not necessarily what you've done. Obviously, things like serious sexual offences or murder would rule you out, but other than less or serious things, even up until drug offences or theft or something like that, if the distance has gone so far back, we're talking 20, 15, 20 years, you've got a solid track record of work, you've got references you can bring to the table, and then you shouldn't let that deter you either. I'm not saying it's good to have these things, but a lot of people that have got talent are put off because they've made a silly mistake in the past. And I say, no matter what you've done, you can always turn your life around. And if you can demonstrate that, to the SRA, and I'd even say even more so to chartered legal executives and bar standards board, who are a bit less anal when it comes to people with convictions. I say, go for it, man. It's never too late.
So what was your actual experience of studying law at university?
Um, right. So I enjoyed it. I think the work wasn't so bad. And I did it full time as well in the evening classes, working full time. I don't know how I did it, but I did, and but I actually really enjoyed it. I think th- I got better as I went on. I think the first year grades on constitutional law, which you guys would know as public law, I think I did really well. I got a really good T1. I got a good T1 in tort, which is a closed book exam, and that was tough, but I did it. Um, Contract law I found a bit boring, but I think I enjoyed it overall. I think I absolutely hated equity and trust, and only down to the philosophical aspect of it. Like it bored the teeth off of me. But other than that, it was good. I really enjoyed writing dissertations and essays, and I did a dissertation for in my final year, and that, you know, I think I was scoring every dissertation and essay I did in my latter 2 years. I got first in every single module.
Would you
So,
say
but it was
that
good.
studying differs a lot to the actual practice of criminal law?
Yeah, it's theoretical and practice is so much different. I mean, even the LPC doesn't really prepare you. What I would say is that the main thing a lawyer would need is you got to be a people person. A lot of people, they're academic people there, and they think that they're and obviously you need to know the law, but if you can win a client over by your personality, or you can win a court over by your personality, or a jury or a judge, that's half the battle won. You don't need to be who can I say, Lord Panic QC, or Jonathan Sumption with the brain as big as the world. It helps, but you know, there's some lawyers out there that are so academic, but they can't handle people, and that's the shame. I think you need to be a people person. Let your personality shine through, and that will sell you as an individual to a prospective firm and beyond.
So you're a criminal lawyer, and it sounds like that has something to do with the event that brought you into law. What kind of person out of the cohort of law students would you say would make the best criminal lawyer? What traits are best in criminal cases as opposed to corporate law or family law?
All right, so you don't want to be driven by money, because the money's is an absolute joke. So um, it's more of a vocation, to be honest with you. And I think from a criminal solicitor point of view, it's not seen as sexy. We're seen as, I don't know, I don't think that criminal duty solicitors are given the respect that they deserve, even though we're at the sharp end. We deal with the police stations. And I think more people are interested in going to the criminal bar because it's the prestige of being a barrister. Whereas if you're going to be a solicitor, it's all about being at the top corporate magic circle, silver circle firm in the city that pays you, I don't know, 50, 60 grand as a trainee, and then maybe 100 grand or there and thereabouts coming out of it. I mean, so that's one thing, but it's about people. I mean, for me, I just want to help the community, and I say that as in the broader community of people I grew up with, regardless of race, gender, or other specific characteristics. I think it's about wanting to serve society, and so I think from my own personal point of view, when I was a DJ, it was a very self-serving, self-centered profession, where it was all about me. The crowd cheered my name, and everyone, you know, you wanted to get bigged up, and the rewinds and whatever, and all the other things that are associated with DJs. And again, with some of the more negative stuff I've been involved in, my actions were definitely very selfish. So it's about giving, for me, giving back, and it's about making a difference. And a lot of criminal lawyers I've met, especially barristers, I've wanted to come things and kind of change things. And what I do notice with criminal lawyers is we're more interested in society as a whole. It, I think people do mind it with their eyes open, but a lot of them, if you look at the posts on LinkedIn from other criminal barristers, they're involved in a variety of projects, and whether it's books, and you know, social issues and charities and campaigns. So there's people like my friend Zena Islam, there's Alexandra Wilson, there's Chris Dorr, Dr. Tunde Okunlawe, Tunika Alcindor. They all run various other charity projects, and I think it's for us, it's more than the law. Do you understand? And I think anyone that's coming into crime, it's got to be your calling. If you want money, forget it. But if you really want to make a difference in society, then this is the profession for you to do it. And I believe that you can honestly change things and do your bit. And even if someone's been treated unjustly, if you can prevent that person from being dealt with wrongly by the state, because the state has a lot of power by the CPS, then you've done your job.
So following on from that, you sort of touched upon it in what you just said just now. I wanted to ask, why did you choose to be a solicitor as opposed to a barrister?
Right. So I was going to be a barrister. I'm a member of Inner Temple. I was signed up to do the bar course. Everything was hunky dory. And then what happened is that I met the solicitors and told them my story. And I said, I'm just a police representative at the moment. And they offered me to go out to dinner. And I kept on saying, no, 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 I'm not interested. I want to be a barrister. And they said, look, come on, we need a police rep. Would you be interested in working with us? And I kept on resisting. And again, I've got the greatest counsel in the world being my wife. And so she said, look, Mark, just go and go out with them and see what they say. You've got nothing to lose. So after about 6 weeks of dithering and delay, I decided to go to a really lovely Turkish restaurant with what I was led to believe was just one partner. And on the day, the partner of the firm said, you don't mind if I bring the other partners of the firm as well? And so I'm there and I was just talking about my life. And I thought, you know what, to hell with it, I'm just going to ask them for a training contract. And they said, we'd love to. And that was it. And even then, when they did draft the training contract, it took me 2 months to sign it because I went to my barrister friends and they said, look, just take the damn thing and, you know, you can cross qualify at a later point. But, you know, they said it's hard to get a pupillage, it's hard to get training contracts. Just get your foot in the door and you'll probably progress over to that later. So as, yeah, I'm in the stages, hopefully, of crossing over. So that I'm putting out there is definitely going to happen soon. And I have got my eye on a particular set at the moment, and I've done the talks and whatever. So it's going to happen, and it's just about the timing and obviously the higher rights results. And then when the time's right, I will make the move, which is why I operate as a consultant. So I do think I'm far more better suited to advocacy, but it's just the way that the cookie crumbled and how it felt at the time. And so I trained as a solicitor. And I don't knock it because it gives you an insight of litigation, and you know, you can kind of learn the full scope of criminal defense. And so from a barrister's point of view, you can then look, you'll know what kind of evidence and what a solicitor should be doing. A lot of barristers don't really know how a criminal defense firm works. They're just used to getting their brief and whatever. So it kind of puts me in a good stead. So I don't regret it, but I know there will be a time coming soon that I will go over to the bar for those reasons that I always get asked, why didn't you be a barrister?
Okay. So you've talked about how your experience as a solicitor will help you become a barrister. How do you think your other experience, so in your other careers, such as when you were a presenter, how do you think that's going to help you in your career as you go forward?
Look, it taught me to string a sentence together because I think that my speech was somewhat, how can we say, urban slang. And when I got on the BBC, I did a pilot show back in 2007. And again, after the pilot show, I was told I was too old. I was 34 at the time. They said they wanted people younger. They're not interested. Then the head producer of One Extra phoned me up and said, we'd like to offer you a contract on the show. And I nearly keeled over. Then they brought me in for 2 months of intensive elocution training. I was trained how to speak properly. I was trained how to announce the death of the royal family live on air. I was trained to do news elements, and they really kind of brought stuff out of me that I didn't even know I had in me. And so that's stayed with me. And I think it's given me confidence. And from that, it's just been a progression. And I think it's all useful skills to have very good transferable skills, I think. But the main thing is through the music industry and dealing with people, it's about being a people person. And I can't emphasize that enough. Yeah? In this profession, especially if you want to do crime, you're dealing with real people with real lives, not corporate conglomerate people with limited companies in commercial law. You need to be a people person. You can have stellar academics. I don't care if you've got Oxbridge first, you've got an outstanding on the bar course, you've got a distinction on the LPC or the solicitors qualifying exams or whatever you've done. If you cannot connect to the people you're represented, that you're going to represent, don't bother coming into this profession. It's as simple as that.
it's really inspiring to hear someone like yourself advocate really fighting for the people in the legal field. So following on from that, we have a big question written down here. So Mark, what would you like your legacy to be as a lawyer?
Oh, I'd like to be known as a good trial advocate, to be honest with you, and also to help people from working class in general background to have access to get into the profession of law. That's a big bugbear for me. And so if I could get some recognition for doing that, I've got some projects lined up that I'm going to hopefully really push, because what I've noticed, and it's probably a bit controversial, but I'm going to put it out there, is you've got all this diversity drive. You've got it at the bar, you've got it less so with the SRA, but what people are missing out is the class that's the problem. So I know plenty of Black and Asian barristers and solicitors. A lot of them are middle class. A lot of them went to very good universities. A lot of them went to private school. That really doesn't tick the box of working class. What they're not missing, just because you have a Black or an Asian face in a particular profession doesn't mean they were any less disadvantaged as one of their white counterparts because of down to their education. What the problem really is people like me that went to the most crappiest comprehensive school in East London, who've suffered with the most appalling grades, which might have been in the care system, who might have come from broken homes, who've got no role models, no inspiration, and the only people we see in life are the local gang members that hang around in the corner of our streets or in our council estate that we grew up in. And they're the kind of people that I want to inspire to say, look, this can be for you. And when I talk to these young people, I say, look, for me, the biggest buzz I've got out of doing the job so far is going into a police station, knowing the problems when I've had with the police, and showing my police rep ID and being able to tell a policeman, don't talk to my client like that, stopping an interview, mid-interview, and walking with my client out of the interview saying, look, you've broken pace, we're leaving. And it's kind of that kind of respect, and it's kind of a lot of the young people are seeking respect in kind of ways off the street or music, and I'm here to say, look, you can be in this profession and you can earn respect of people that you'd think would never respect you. And so that's kind of what I'd like to be my legacy, is to bring a different kind of cohort group or what have you into this profession and show them it ain't just about Oxbridge and Cambridge and the red brick universities. You can achieve just as much because I've done it. You don't have to have stellar grades. You can have been a bit naughty in the past, but you can still make it to the top level.
That's great, thank you. So following on from that, what sort of reforms and changes do you think need to be made to the justice system to make it more accessible for underrepresented groups?
I think there should be more programs rolled out to encourage kids to get into law. I think there's a barrister from Great James Street Chambers, Stephen Akinsanya, that started that kind of work, and he goes around and talks at schools, and there's more stuff like that. I do mentoring in my local secondary school in down in Lewisham, and there's more things like that. So I think all professions need to reach out. I think that there needs to be more focus on these top tier, even barrister sets, especially the Magic Circle solicitors firms, to reach out to more urban comprehensive schools and not the red brick universities. Try to aim for they're good universities, but they just don't fall into that category. So places like University of East London, University of Westminster, University of Middlesex, the local universities which are good, but they're not Oxford. I think that is one thing. And I think then I don't know. I think there needs to be more in the marking criteria of applications. There needs to be more focus on interpersonal skills rather than grades. So for example, if you're up against someone with an Oxbridge first, if you've got better interpersonal skills than them, then that should take you higher on your on the marking criteria than they, or at least level it. Because some, as I said, you can be the brainiest person in Britain, but if you can't deal with people, then I say no. So that might level the playing field. But I think the profession needs to just open up a bit more, stop being such a secret society, and just do more stuff to bring children and young people in, and more scholarships. I definitely think that that there should be more funding available across the board for young people, and not just at and I think at undergraduate level as well, there should be more funding available and more bursaries available to help prospective students get on by through their studies. And I think one thing that strikes me is that a lot of people are obsessed by the bar or the big city firms. I went to a local high street firm. It's a very good, respected criminal law firm, but most criminal defense firms are on the high street. Now, for example, if you wanted to get a document witnessed for your parents or yourself, or you're buying a home or whatever, are you going to go to a commercial firm, or are you going to go to your local high street? And again, if you wanted to deal with a will, you're not going to go to Slate or Gordon, or Freshfield, Brockhouse, Derringer. You're going to go to your local high street firm. And I think that there should be more support given to those firms to be able to give more young people support. So maybe the Law Society or the bar should, give those firms an incentive to give more work experience to those young people, because high street firms are always willing to do that kind of thing, but it's often down to money or lack of. So I think that would make a big difference as well. It's about exposure, and these firms are within the local community. So I think that's going to be a good starting point as well.